Welcome to Life with AI, Unlocking Your Third Brain. In these short episode series, we'll unravel the profound ways AI is reshaping our lives. Dive in with me as we uncover tools and insights that empower you to elevate your health, intellect, and help you work with maximum efficiency. I'm your host, Richard Fala. If you haven't built case studies for your business, or you haven't crafted the proper ICP, meaning ideal customer profiles, to go after, you're probably missing out on a lot of opportunities. In this short video, I will show you how you can interview your clients using a very simple framework via Zoom, video, or even in person, and then transform these into very powerful use case studies, testimonials, as well as ICPs, so you can get more focus and you can close more business. But before I do that, I would love to invite you to join our beta release for openbuild.ai. We are launching an AI studio that's a drag and drop to let you and your team put together very powerful recipes to help you work better and more effectively. It is openbuild.ai, and as soon as the beta is released, we will send you an invite. Before I start sharing my screen, I just want to give you some numbers to help you understand why case studies are so important. 70% of your buyers are actually consuming case studies before they decide to pull the plug, buy your product, adopt your service, etc. That's a very high number. Second, 83% of those buyers, they say that they increase their confidence with your brand when they consume those powerful case studies. And I'm not talking about those very silly testimonial with a random character that's made up. I'm talking about powerful use cases that have used your service or your product, have gotten benefit from it, and they became an advocate of your product. These are technically the ICPs or the ideal customers you want to go after anyways. And I always recommend businesses that are starting anew to find that ideal customer, to learn exactly how they're using the product in a wow and aha moment, right? Where they're finding the product so useful, they're actually practically using it on a daily basis and they're paying you money for it, and then building from that particular profile. If you're starting any business, to get the first 10 clients and to mine the data and interviews and to transform them into case studies is only going to help you boost and increase your sales in the future. So how can we do that? This is a very simple process, and I'm going to break it down to you into one, sharing with you the framework that we use and most of the big companies use as well, a series of questions. And then obviously there's a part where you conduct the interview directly with the customer and you can incentivize them either by giving them a gift card, or you can just do it for nothing. It's up to you. And finally, taking all those transcripts, and instead of you having to jot everything down and summarize it, using AI to summarize it for you. Let's get started. Obviously, it's going to first depend on what product you are using in terms of conducting the interview. If you are using Zoom, not only Zoom can record, create a transcript, and recently they have an awesome AI feature to help you summarize those interviews. You can actually download the transcript after the video is complete. And the transcript usually look something raw, a text file like this, with timestamps and names of the people who are speaking. It's quite accurate and follows the conversation across the board. Now, if you're not using Zoom, do not worry. You can record using other third party. Any recording software of choice definitely provides some sort of transcript. And if they don't, just record the video, upload it to YouTube, and you can use one of the dozens of these plugins that help you summarize videos. Once you've gotten the transcript, you can load it into a file. In this case, I have a very simple TXT file. And now I'm going to switch to ChatGPT. Now I'm using the code interpreter, which they called analysis. Usually your interview shouldn't be longer than about 15 minutes and it shouldn't have too much content to dissect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop that particular transcript into the code interpreter. And then I'm going to show you the list of questions that we use. And we adopt a framework for this to kind of get the conversation and transcript to tell a story. Okay? In this particular case, the questions are introduction of the business, who they are and what is their focus, the industry, etc. Second, what kind of solution or tools they were using before adopting your product or service. And by the way, this applies. It doesn't matter if you're B2B, if you're a SaaS product, if you're a service or e-com, you can just adopt these to your own niche. Now, what was the evaluation process and what kind of solutions they were evaluating? This is optional, but it definitely helps because a lot of people actually do the comparison. They go out, they evaluate other products. You're almost never the only final solution they look at. Now you pivot into how choosing your solution or product or service impacted their performance, impacted their business. And I really like to talk about key metrics. For example, how did it increase effectiveness of the workspace, lead generation, if you're a specific product like marketing or sales, how did it impact the overall top revenue of the company? So whatever it is, the product and service you're offering, obviously this question pertains to main KPIs that you're driving. Now, there are some things here. If you offer customization, how were this customization made in your product to adapt to your need? Because sometimes you buy a product and you're using part of it and how that part served them very well. What were the most valuable features? And this can be combined into one question. What kind of efficiencies and optimization they noticed after? This is a little bit more in-depth question that it's definitely optional. And finally, just a last remark from the person you're interviewing. That's it. These are very basic questions that you can certainly ask. And all it takes is picking up the phone, sending out an email, and asking your clients to do these interviews with you. And trust me, if you are providing a solid service and a good product, they will be more than happy to give you that 15-20 minutes of their time. So far, all we did is we put together the questions, and you can definitely flush these through ChatGPT and give it some context to adapt them to your own business. And by the way, I'll provide these in the description so you'll have that framework for yourself as well. The second piece here is, so we got the interview set up and done. We got the transcript downloaded. We uploaded that transcript to ChatGPT. And now I'm going to take those questions and I'm going to tell ChatGPT to answer them from that transcript alone. I can ask them by one, or I can just drop them in bulk. Can you please answer the following questions from this transcript? Now, usually it starts to process the transcript. It finds out who spoke. For example, we're taking turns switching the conversations. And you as a speaker, you definitely want to talk less. Let the person you're interviewing do most of the talking. And as you're interviewing them, do not stop or pause or add any remarks to it. Let them complete the sentence. This way, the transcript will not be interrupted. And you will notice that the code analysis of the interpreter is doing a lot better job. Okay. Now this is continuing to do some of the transcript or analyzing, and it's always fun to kind of look at the code here if you like to do that. And they even added this very short analysis as well. Now mind you, errors could happen. It continued to retry, so be patient until it gets it right. Now it does seem that ChatGPT's interpreter have some memory issue or token issues. Although the transcript wasn't as large, it seems like parts of the transcript weren't picked up directly. So what I ended up having is not only network issues, it's just parts of it wasn't really being recognized. And it's explicitly saying here that the person haven't answered or they couldn't find those particular answers to the question from the transcript itself. So I'm trying to go a slightly different route, and instead I copied the entire conversation. I'm just pasting it right here from the transcript directly. So instead of using the code interpreter, which analyzes the file, I'm trying to have the prompt itself include the entire conversation. So let's try that and see how the response will be. After a little bit of back and forth and tinkering around, and with these things, it's always about trial and error, understanding how to prompt more effectively, right? So I did paste the entire transcript here, and I asked some questions to be a little bit more specific. And now at this part, it answered me some very general answers, and some of which it couldn't necessarily find directly. This is way far from being a case study yet. This is primarily just analysis of the conversation itself. I need to drive this a little deeper and get more concise answers, okay? Which is great. This is how ChatGPT sorts of analyzes things and reasons about the content. So you certainly want to start from the broad questions, let it understand the context of the conversation, and then eventually start to drill down and get a little bit more specific. After I did that, I said, can you respond to these questions specifically based on the text above? These are from that same framework I shared earlier, which has those business questions, the most valuable features, efficiencies, and so on. Now it started to answer them based on the context. It has analyzed the copy. This is not how we would like to present a case study, of course. These are just questions and answers. Finally, I've gotten to a point where I prompted and asked if we can format this into a case study that's suitable to be added to the website. This is kind of how it can get presented. And fair enough, this is it. The industry, the location, the business environment, what are the challenges, how they explored the solution, why they chose VBout. And by the way, this is just my own company, so I took it as an example. How it impacted the business, and what kind of customization they use VBout for, and what is the overall recommendation. A very simple framework that now I can go ahead and copy. And by the way, I can open a different chat, activate some plugins, and I can create a PDF PowerPoint presentation from this, which is quite simple. But I can also go back and paste this whole thing in its own Word document. Now you need to definitely work on the branding and adapt this to your own need. But if I am starting from this, I literally have the majority of the content from this case study ready for me to deploy on my own website. So that's a very simple process of turning your client interviews from the transcript into a case study for your website. The second part I wanted to use this for, it's two birds in one stone, is to create an ICP, an ideal customer profile. Now, why do we even need this? ICPs are usually very important. One, for your business plan if you have any. Two, for your own internal sales and marketing team to know exactly who they're targeting, where these people kind of gather, and you can find more of the same. It has a lot of benefits, and you can look up the power of ICPs. So how can I turn that same conversation, which houses a lot of the details about the client, the business, the successes, into a potential ICP? I can continue my prompts from here. So let's test this out real quick together to get to the best format. So I'm going to simply ask, can you create an ICP from the details above to be shared with sales and marketing team? And by the way, you might not need to do this if you already have this predefined. This is an extra bonus if you are building your case studies and your ICPs at the same time, which usually makes sense. So I'm going to let it continue, and I'll pause real quick until I produce the results. All right, this is great. dove deep into the content and the copy and the responses, and it broke it down in a way where if you're building ICPs, you can build them in 1,000 ways, but this is a very solid way that's almost ready to be shared with the team. Obviously, I need to add a little more, but overall, it analyzed the industry, the location, and it didn't make biased location choice. It says geographically diverse, even though the client was in Florida. The characteristics of the business, the needs and challenges, the behavioral traits. I mean, this is really good stuff. And all I had to do is just copy this, open a new Word document, and now I can save this document and share it with my team, as you can see right here. Now, why am I excited about this? Why am I sharing this with you? Because creating ICPs, creating transcripts and case studies can take days and days of work. This literally is done with very brief recording. All I had to do is just the interview, which probably took the chunk of the time, download the transcript, ask very specific questions after I feed that transcript to ChatGPT, and drive the answers all the way down to a way where it's presentable to my websites and my collateral. And then on top of it, as a bonus, I asked it to create an ICP after creating the case study. And I found this a little bit more helpful because to get to the case study, ChatGPT has pretty much gone through all the content and have gotten the gold of that conversation to be parsed into the ICP profile. So this is it, you guys. I really encourage you, if you have a business or if you're starting one and you'd like to get that social proof going, to try this method. It's gonna cost you $0. It's literally probably an hour of your time end to end from the moment you interview to the moment you can produce this piece of content. Let's assume without a lot of design elements, and then take these and sprinkle them around your website, collateral, social media, and your sales materials. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please like, share, subscribe. I love to continue building those little use cases of how you can utilize AI to optimize the way you work and you live. With your feedback, I can improve the content with time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the upcoming episode.